because they might lose some of the independents. So the president has a real popularity problem even within his own party.
Yeah, and the Democrats are going to pay dearly for that lack of unity. And sadly, so are the American people. It's not going to get easier to fill these positions with a Republican Congress and a Democratic president. And if anything, that's going to make it harder.
Well, folks, 2 weeks ago, we did a story here on Darshan America regarding immigration, and I actually misspoke. I said that the President of the United States, son of immigrants, would potentially be affected by anyone looking to repeal the 14th Amendment. Actually, I didn't quite say that correctly. What I meant to say was that he is the son of an immigrant, but he's also the son of a U.S.-born, Kansas-born mom. He was born in, of course, the state of Hawaii, and therefore claims his citizenship to the country through statehood, Hawaii statehood. But I did misspeak, and one of our ardent viewers did catch us. So actually, I'm quite encouraged that people are out there watching, and it gave me a chance to correct my small mistake. I hope that people will continue watching.
Well, I'm happy to report that NFL season is back in full swing. The big story in town, of course, is the Redskins.
I mean, come on. Anytime the Redskins beat Dallas Cowboys on opening night, and that too with a Cowboys mistake to end the game, oh, that's just sweet. Sorry for you Dallas fans out there, but it had to be said.
Well, it is big news. It's big news around town, and it's even made its way into the business section of the Washington Post, where they're talking about Donovan McNabb, the quarterback who's come in from Philadelphia, who's supposedly going to bring this franchise and bring it back to glory. But I kind of chuckle when I see this because, in my view, I like Donovan McNabb. My nickname for him is, of course, Donovan McFlab. But he's not the one I would have picked as the one to bring this franchise up from the ashes.
Well, the Redskins have been going through a really tough stretch. I mean, we have not had a solid coach. We have not had a solid quarterback. We really haven't had much of a solid offense, really, if you think about it. So, you bring back some people that are tried and tested. You bring back Mike Shanahan, right? He's tried and tested. You bring back Donovan McNabb. He's tried and tested in the hopes that there's enough structure and a tried and tested energy on that team to bring everybody else into line. And, if this is the way the season had to begin, to light the fire under the skins, I'm not unhappy about it. I think that's okay. I can live with Donovan McNabb versus going with another high-priced college, newly graduated, prospect who doesn't pan out. We've seen that happen. We've already been down that path.
Well, I like Shanahan. I think he's a great pick for a coach to bring in for this team. He is mean as a snake if you've ever seen any of the press conferences, which is exactly what you need in this town to stand up to the owner.
Yes.
Who I think has been the main problem. I don't think it's been these young quarterbacks coming in from college. I think the ownership of the Redskins has meddled and interfered and treated this too much like a business.
That's right.
As opposed to a beloved sports franchise that people want to stand behind. So I think Shanahan's a perfect guy to step in and say, this is my team, I'm going to run it how I'm going to run it, and you're not going to interfere with my decision making.
Well, you're right. Owner Dan Snyder has never been very popular here. And ever since, the franchise was taken away from the Jack Kent Cooke family, where it was there for years and years, I think people just, have a hard time embracing Dan Snyder. Although, to his credit, he has spent money on the team. He's trying to assemble talent. He's trying to do what he can do to make this team better. But I think, you're right. With his heavy-handed approach to this and looking for the return rather than worrying about the sport itself, I don't know. I think it's going to take many years for him to be that warm, beloved figure that we always thought of Jack Kent Cooke, for example. Moving to sports on the Indian front, this is just funny. I had to share it. Did you know that the NBA, not the NFL, but the NBA is now courting India as its next big target for advancing basketball? This happened with China a few years ago because of Yao Ming, right? You don't see too many Chinese players, and then here comes Yao Ming, and he changes the world of basketball in all of China, right? He's a big national hero. Well, there is a 7-foot-tall Indian from the state of Punjab. He's 14 years old only. He's already 7 feet tall, and the NBA is already out to see if he can be the next Yao Ming, in the hopes that if he becomes a national hero the way that Yao Ming became a national hero, then NBA would take off in the country of India, where it's already popular. It's just not played very often because of our physical dimensions not generally matching up well. But of course, this young new player who is in the Academy of Basketball, he's learning to play basketball in the Academy in Florida, and his name is Satyam Singh. So hopefully we'll be hearing that name to come in the near future.
If I were him, I would change my name to Yao Singh, and that would virtually guarantee him a spot in the NBA.
I love it.
Well, continuing with this whole sports theme, if you were watching the U.S. Open this year, you might have noticed that in the doubles, there was an Indian and a Pakistani who went in the men's doubles all the way to the finals.
It was quite impressive. Their names, let me see if I can do a decent job. Rohan Bopana and Essam Ul-Haq Qureshi. I hope I said that right. But this is great. Talk about the two countries meeting up together to play a doubles match. I mean, there's all sorts of questions they were asked about, you know, the tensions between India and Pakistan, but they didn't go there. I thought that was great. They only disagreed about food, because Rohan likes spicy food, and Essam does not like spicy food.
Well, they went all the way to the finals, and unfortunately they lost to the Bryan twins, but it was great to see them advance all the way, and I think it's nice for the two countries to come together in that fashion and to play together.
I think so. I mean, we have a nice, healthy sports rivalry, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think cricket has been around forever, but, you know, if we can create new rivalries to get kids to really play outside more and do more physical types of things, I think it can't hurt. Well, folks, on a more serious note, Time magazine did a story on what's happening in the state of Kashmir. You know, Kashmir has always been this disputed land between India and Pakistan, and it's always been a lot of skirmishes happening there. Depending on where the power struggles are in the region, it can be quite a tumultuous place to be. Well, there is a new source of uprisings that's happening in Kashmir, but the movement itself is fundamentally different than any movement that has been in the last several years, which is why Time magazine decided to do a story on it. It's about Kashmir's new warriors, whose cause is not independence or union with Pakistan, but it's actually the ouster of India's military from their homeland. You know, the article talks about how this disputed land, much like other places in the world, has become a war zone. You know, it's constantly occupied by militants. Those militants disrupt your way of life. Kashmir is a beautiful part of the country, but it's very dangerous to travel. People are used to living in hiding or in fear. So what you have is you have a societal structure that exists in part because these military folks are always present. And they are starting to say that's enough. We want you out. We want our way of life back. We want to enjoy our country back and not live under fear in this kind of repressed society. So they're actually revolting against troops of all sorts, whether it's the Pakistani troops or the Indian troops. Obviously, Indian troops have been there for decades, and they want those people gone. This is the most interesting part of the story, folks. You know, part of the restrictive society that exists there is you don't have too many media outlets, right? But people still have Facebook and Twitter. So would you